Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Jai Shri Chaitanya Jai Nityananda Jai Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. So very happy to be at your service once again. Today we are discussing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, presentation of Prabhupada on the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita given by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. And this is Adi Leela, the advent of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and text 119. So the Bengali is as follows. Aiche Shachi Jagannath Putra Paya Lakshmi Nath Purna Haila Sakala Vanchit Dhanadhanya Bhare Ghar Lokamanya Kalevar Dine Dine Hoya Anandit. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. In this way, Mother Shachi Devi and Jagannath Mishra, having obtained a son who was the husband of the goddess of fortune, had all their desires fulfilled. Their house was always filled with riches and grains. As they saw the beloved body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, day after day their pleasure increased. Srila Prabhupada's purport. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, everyone offered respects to him. Even the denizens of heaven used to come in the dress of ordinary men to offer the respect to the Lord. His father and mother, Jagannath Mishra and Shachi Devi, seeing the honor of their transcendental son, also became very pleased within their hearts. So this is that section which talks about Mahaprabhu's birth, Mahaprabhu's advent, how everybody was happy. Yeah. The culture of observing the birth of a human being and what do you do to celebrate that? The celebration is hardly matched in the whole world by hardly matched by any other culture. Because first of all, Vedic culture, we have this term called samskara, and many of you must be, I'm assuming you're familiar with the word samskara. My voice is breaking up a little, perhaps you speak a little slowly and loudly. Okay. Should I put my speaker?
Prabhuji, it is quite clear for us.
Quite clear? Because normally, if I put my video and there is a problem, I get a signal saying that your connection is unstable. I haven't
Prabhuji,
received.
Sounds very clear, Prabhuji.
Okay, okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. I'm sorry. Yes, you can continue. I'm sorry.
Okay, okay. Let me know if the audio is important. If you don't need to see my ugly face, but if the choice is to be made, I'll shut off my video. At least the audio can be there.
Prabhuji, we would like to see your moon-like face. Please keep the video on, Prabhuji.
There is no moon here. Okay, let me read something which I was really kind of happy to see that. So this is a small booklet which was written by Thakur Bhakti Vinod. It is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his life and precepts. Since we are talking of the Advent, yeah, this is such sweet language of Thakur Bhakti Vinod. I will put the connection with what we are discussing today later. We just read the Thakur's words. Krishna appears as a man amongst men. Krishna appears as a man amongst men, yet is generally accepted as God above gods. Appears as man amongst men, but is accepted as God above gods, as a God, capital G, above gods, small g. Krishna attracts, loves, and produces ecstasy in all souls. His qualities and personal paraphernalia are all purely spiritual and have no relation to the material world. The material senses of man cannot approach him. It is the spirit in man which can see him directly and communicate with him. It is the spirit in us that can see him and directly communicate with him. The soul fettered in matter, fettered in the sense, fetter means chains, shackled, bound. The soul fettered in matter has, from its own degradation, lost its right to see Krishna. A very interesting point. Why can't we see Krishna? Krishna's fault. The understanding is a person has locked himself in a mountain cave, that to an underground cave, and put a big boulder on the mouth, and is saying that the sun doesn't exist, there is nothing like the sun, and if the sun is that powerful, let him enter this cave, I'll show him. So by the dint of reality that the sun cannot enter the cave, you're saying, I'm more powerful than the sun. It doesn't happen like that. So the soul fettered in matter has, from its own degradation, lost its right to see Krishna and his spiritual Leela in the spiritual world. So it is our fault, our responsibility rather, that we have lost. But now this is how the Thakur kind of makes the case for Guru's mercy. But Krishna may, out of his own supreme power and prerogative, appear with all his Vrindavan Leela before the eyes of all men. So Mahaprabhu's advent is Mahaprabhu's choice. Krishna's advent is Krishna's choice. Nobody can force him. Although there is, like the word used by Prabhupada is scheduled incarnations. So you go to Detroit airport and there are scheduled arrivals and scheduled departures. So if the departure doesn't take place on time, you can ask the company and say, hey, what's happening? But if Krishna doesn't come at a particular time, no power in the world can challenge him. Why are you not taking incarnation? You have to. Or if it takes more, you may say, hey, you already came last time. Why are you coming now? Oh, that's his property. He can do anything. So the rational man can hardly conceive of or believe in Krishna and his Leela. Here, rational means one who only uses logic. Rationality means reasoning power. So only reasoning power will not help you. But as a man's spiritual vision improves, he sees Krishna and loves him with all his heart. This subject can hardly be explained fully and exhaustively. Mind you, the Thakur is trying to explain Mahaprabhu to the Western world, at least the English-speaking world. And that's why this small booklet was sent to McGill University, Canada. Now, this is something which I like very much. We, therefore, leave this point to our readers with these words. Now, this is Thakur, the Mahabhagat Uttamadhikari speaking. Give up the shackles of material life slowly. Isn't it strange? He's not saying immediately become a Mahatma and just go back to the spiritual world. Give up the shackles of material life slowly. Cultivate your spiritual consciousness internally. Give up prejudices which you have acquired from the so-called rational thinkers who deny the existence of spirit. Be humble. Oh, sorry, this is what I was thinking. How do you acquire faith in materialistic ideologies? By associating with materialistic people. How do you, and simultaneously, how do you acquire faith in the spirit? By associating with spiritually enlightened people, spiritually advanced people. Be humble and learn to respect those who work towards spiritual attainments. Do this with your heart, mind, and strength in the company of Vaishnavas alone. And he is guaranteeing. And you will see Krishna in no time. Krishna is not an imaginary being, nor have you a right to think that he is a material phenomenon fancied to be the supreme being by fools. Krishna is not understood by the process of distinguishing the subjective from the objective, nor is he to be accepted as an imposition on the people set up by self-interested men. Krishna is eternal, spiritually true, reflected on the human soul, relieved of all attachment to dull matter, and is the subject of love which proceeds from the soul. Accept him as such, and you will see him with your soul's eyes. He goes on further, but very, very captivating paragraph by our, he's our great, great, great grand spiritual master. And Prabhupada, of course, in the Nectar of Devotion, says that Thakur Bhaktivinoda is the pioneer of the program to benedict the entire world with Krishna consciousness. So on whose authority we agree that Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself? We don't have any means. We don't have any research means. We don't have any intellectual means. So we see the lives of the great acharyas. And ultimately, it boils down to one question only. One question only. If Bill Gates says Microsoft Windows 2010 is the best software ever, you may say, well, you have commercial interest in saying that. If Jeff Bezos says, trust Amazon Fresh, I guarantee you'll get the freshest vegetables and fruits delivered at your doorstep. He has a vested interest. Just find out what is the vested interest of the Goswamis in telling you that Krishna is God. What is the vested interest of Thakur Bhaktivinoda in telling you that Krishna and Krishna Chaitanya are one and the same? So it is the selflessness. Second point, did these people come to help their own community? Like secretly they were feeling, I'm a Bengali and therefore I should be working for Bengalis. A very interesting thing came up. I was hearing this, I'm still hearing this Harishwari Prabhu's Prabhupada, the Living Bhagavatam series, audio series. Prabhupada's sister came, this is March 76. Oh no, this could be Jan 77. Something between that. So Prabhupada has now decided to wind up his active preaching because he cannot take it. So much of cough, so much of mucus, and his body just cannot sustain the rigors of so much of traveling. And from Calcutta, his sister comes and she decides to cook according to the Bengali standards. And Prabhupada is saying that I cannot digest that. So he tells the disciples that don't allow her in the kitchen. And she comes and with her heavy voice, she would drive them away from the kitchen. So one day there was a showdown. This is Lotus Building. All of you have been to Mayapur, you know the Lotus Building, Prabhupada's quarters on the first floor. So in Prabhupada's room, she and Prabhupada had a heavy, heavy exchange of words. And Harishwari Prabhu says, it's all in Bengali, I don't know what's happening. And Prabhupada is chastising her left, right, center. And finally she burst out crying. And the whole thing is that you don't stay here, you get out, you go back to Calcutta. So finally she relents. And Harishwari Prabhu says, I don't know, I've never seen Prabhupada in such a fiery mood. And as she leaves, Prabhupada relaxes on his bed and bursts out laughing. And he said, oh, this is just brother-sister stuff. So Prabhupada looks at him very severely at Harishwar Prabhu and says, you know her problem? She thinks I am her brother. And this is that bondage, this is that illusion that Mahaprabhu relinquished forever by taking sannyas. That's why he took sannyas. Sannyasi means he's like the citizen of the world. So he was saying, oh, Prabhupada is basically seeing it from the point of view of just material relationships, mere material relationships. And within few months, when Prabhupada was about to leave in Vrindavan, oh no, whether it was Vrindavan or it was Mayapur, but somewhere Prabhupada begged forgiveness. Said, I'm so sorry, I was a bit harsh or whatever. Same thing with Prabhupada's godbrothers. He has said so many heavy things. But while he was leaving, he was saying, please forgive me. In fact, he said, I am Mahapatit for calling you fools, rascals, and whatever. It was all meant for the propagation of the movement. So at least one godmother said, no, 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 Maharaj, you are not Mahapatit. You are Mahapatit Pavan. There are people who can deliver souls, but among those who deliver, especially among those who can deliver the most fallen, you are the most expert in that. So, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is saying that we leave it to you. How do you accept Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Here in these words, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying, Aiche, in this way, Shachi Jagannath, Shachi Devi, Jagannath Mishra, Putra Paya Lakshmi Nath. This is another one of my pet points, that in our home we used to have Lakshmi Pujan every Diwali. I hope many of you are not unfamiliar with Diwali Lakshmi Pujan. So whether I ask somebody, whether my father or whatever, that what is this Lakshmi? Yeah, my father had some Lakshmi Yantram just to make sure that Lakshmi doesn't leave our house. And he got some money, or he recovered some lost money. And so he was convinced it works. So the whole idea was there is God. Who cares whether there is a God or not? But there is this goddess and she gives you money. That's all. How many such Lakshmis are there? You say, oh, there is one and she's enough. Just have one. Imagine like a whole helium balloon bursting with such sound. When I read the Brahma Samhita verse, Lakshmi Sahasra Shata. Sahasra is 1,000. Shata is 100. It doesn't mean just 1,100. It is not addition. It is not your multiplication. It is multiplication into multiplication into multiplication. Like when it says Chaitanya Lila Amrita Sar Tara Shata Shata Dhar. Not just 100. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds multiplied by hundreds. Further thing, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, one of his classes, but quoted by, I cannot remember who, that in the palaces of Vaikuntha, the Lakshmis are having a broom in their hand. It's all a show because there is no dust. There is no dust, so there is a question of brooming it. But they say, no, we love to. So imagine a person who is served by millions of Lakshmis and still feels no affection for any of them. Like, yeah, you may come if you like to. I'm not insisting that you serve me. 8th canto, when Lashmi comes as a product of the churning of the milk ocean, very interesting thing. She looks at somebody and says, very big tapasvi. Oh, but very arrogant and very short-tempered. Very wealthy, but no tapasya. Very knowledgeable, but hard-hearted. And then she sees Vishnu. She has a Varamala, a garland in her hand, and says, he is fit. So she offers him that. So basically, when Ram sees Sita for the first time, it cannot be called love at first sight. In fact, there is hardly any love at first sight, so to say. I was listening to one class by our Navayogendra Maharaj, and one family requested him to come to their place. So the daughter-in-law had a big fight, and she had ran out of the house in a huff. And the mother-in-law, one Mamaji, said, please come, Maharaj, and talk to her. She said, okay, I'll talk. So the husband, that means her son, the daughter-in-law, Mamaji, Sasuji, Sasurji, and they were all there. And finally, he asked her, what exactly happened? So they said, the mother-in-law said, she hit my son with a shoe. And he said, oh, that's a serious transgression. And he asked her, Beta, did you do that? She said, yes. But you asked me why I was compelled. So back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Somehow we managed to patch it up. I don't know in what way. And they all dispersed. And this Mamaji said, Maharaj, I'm really surprised. He said, why? You're surprised that husband and wife fight? He said, no. Exactly 2 years ago, this boy and this girl, they came to me independently, telling me that if we don't get married, I can't live without him. I can't live without her. So then Mother said, so what? So what happened? Where did the love go? So when you say, where did the love go? Our Acharya will say, where was it in the first place to go anywhere? So we like to see love at first sight. So Nimai Pandit looking at Lashmi Priya, or Ram looking at Sita, or this is a famous episode in Dan Ghati. For those of you who do Giriraj Parikrama, you can see that as soon as you cross Manasi Ganga and then Mukharavinda Mandir, and then you go on the path where our ISKCON ashram is on the left side, one of the first important things which comes is Dan Ghati. And Dan Ghati is the place where Krishna enacted the pastime of exacting tax. And then there is a Dana Nivartan Kunda, Dan which was given back. So it is described by the Goswamis that while Krishna was standing with his friends, and from afar, the gopis have come. The gopis tell their parents that we need to sell. Oh, there is some big yajna in Mathura, and there is some big happening, and we can sell our products nicely. So their parents say, okay, go. So this is the pretext of coming and meeting Krishna. And Krishna also has taken the role of a tax collector, and he's standing there. And then from afar, Radharani sees something bluish, and she asks her friend Lalita, what is it? What is that? Is it a human being? Is it somebody there? Is it a bluish cloud? Why am I getting so much of palpitation in my heart? And Krishna sees her, and Krishna is leaning on the shoulder of his friend and saying that, who is she? Why there is a wave after wave after wave of ecstatic emotions coming on my heart? So sometimes we feel that, all right, I give up this world, this nasty job, this Detroit city with all its crime and everything, and reside peacefully in some ashram in either South India or North India, whatever, and leave my body, and then I go back to the Vaikuntha world. Hey, but what did I do there? Here there is so much variety. There is so much of variety here. In fact, one famous Mayavadi, Mayavadi argument was, All right, so you guys, you chant Krishna, Krishna and go back to Krishna and then do what? You look at him and he looks at you. That's what you do for 24 hours? So Radhana Maharaj said, well, that will surely not happen. But please have to understand, even if the only occupation in Vaikuntha is just to stare at Krishna and he stares back at you, that is enough to make you happy like anything. Of course, it doesn't happen like that. There is tremendous variety over there. So, Krishna looking at Radha, Radha looking at Krishna, and there is, so therefore, in one chapter of the Krishna book, Prabhupada opens it by saying, Krishna is Nitya Nava Navaya Man. Always fresh. Always fresh. At least for my experience, 30 years I'm chanting Hare Krishna. Am I satisfied? Absolutely not. I know for sure if I am Krishna, I would have given my chanting negative marking. Thank God I'm not Krishna. If I was Krishna and I would have to evaluate one Shyamananda and his chanting, I would have said, make him struggle for many millions of births. But we were discussing once that even if our chanting is almost Nam Aparad mix, bordering Nama Bhas, still there is an urge to do it every day, isn't it? So when you say, I don't have taste, why are you doing it then? It's not that you don't have taste. You have a slight bit of taste, just like from a honey comb, just one drop has fallen on your tongue. And just looking where exactly is that from? So that small taste is a hint that continue, do it properly, and you will be rewarded. So we are discussing Lashmi and Lashmi Nath. So Putra Paya Lakshmi Nath, she got a putra like Lakshmi Nath. Purna Haila Sakala Vanchit. Now this is a guarantee of spiritual life. Purna, fulfilled. Haila became Sakala, all Vanchit, desires. If Vaikuntha is a place where even one of my desires will be adjusted, or like you order something from a restaurant and say, we ran out of ketchup, so would you like some chutney? And said, no, with this thing I want ketchup. Or your boss says that we are short of $100 this month, we'll manage next time. So no. When putting hours, you don't give me one less hour. So why should I compromise? Give me the whole thing. Spiritual life means you should demand that all your spiritual desires should be fulfilled. And they will be. They will be. This is that thing. Purna Haila Sakala Vanchita. Dhana Dhanya Bhare Ghara. House was filled with riches and gains. Lokamanya Kalevara. People loved seeing Mahaprabhu's body. Prabhupada says here, the body beloved by people in general. Dine dine hoy anandita. Day after day, the bliss simply increased. Another one of a very paradigm busting kind of a statement. Anandam buddhi vardhanam. Ananda is happiness, bliss, spiritual bliss. Ambudhi is an ocean. Ambu is water. Ambudhi, Mahanidhi. That means it's an ocean. Our oceans are limitless. We say oceanic love, oceanic wisdom. Still from space you can see them, isn't it? You can see here is the limit of the Pacific Ocean. After that there is land. But Mahaprabhu is saying in his Shikshashtakam that the happiness of chanting Hare Krishna, this ocean simply goes on increasing. Our Radha Gopinath Prabhu in his famous Gita lecture series would give this definition of pure bliss. Happiness unmixed by material things. So sweet rice means sweet rice, not sweet rice, 1 kilo sweet rice with 300 grams of sand. You say, hey, it's free. You take up the sweet rice and spit out the sand. What's the problem? You say, no. If I want, I'll take fully pure sweet rice. So unmixed by material things. Secondly, the happiness doesn't have the seeds of misery in it. Like any sweet item has the seeds of spoiling your teeth hygiene in it. Any coffee which gives you a pick-me-up feeling has the seeds of spoiling your stomach, your intestines in it. Alcohol has the seeds of liver cirrhosis in it. So there. The second thing is that it should not have any seeds of material misery. And the third is, once begun, it should not end. So he said, none of our material activities qualify for this kind of happiness. So this is what the divine parents of Lord Chaitanya experience. Dine dine hoy anandit. The translation once again, in this way, Mother Shachidevi and Jagannath Mishra, having obtained a son who was the husband of the goddess of fortune, had all their desires fulfilled. Their house was always filled with riches and grains. As they saw the beloved body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, day after day, their pleasure increased. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, any comments or any questions, any corrections?
Prabhuji, thank you very much for the wonderful class.
Hey, Swami, you're here. I didn't see your name.
Prabhuji, now the question I have is, you said, Amen. Anand, this happened. Amen. The last,
Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam.
last points, or you want me to touch my first points or last point? Anyway, I'll touch the last point. That's where I just, that my question is actually. We know these things actually, so Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, we know. But is it because of the conditioning we don't experience? You're right when you said chanting, yes, definitely we want to do it. But that pleasure while chanting is that to Vardhanam you said. That is, how do you make sure we get that?
See, therefore, I personally get a lot of assurance from our Acharya's commentaries. Like here, this is Mahaprabhu, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life and precepts. And Thakur Bhaktivinoda is telling us, try to understand this subject matter slowly. There is only one instance where, I found out there is let me find out it for those who want to have evidence. So, let's see. Okay, this is Bhagavad Gita 4.10 purport. So by the slow process of devotional service, slow process? Yeah. Sometimes Prabhupada says, don't take the slow process of yoga. That slow process won't help us. And anybody who takes a slow process is foolish. But here, the slow process means that along with your enthusiasm, you also have patience. That is the real understanding. And enthusiasm and patience are like the accelerator and the brake. Say you want to go from Farmington to Dev Sadan Mandir in a hurry, you have to have your DT tracing. So if you think that just the accelerator will help you, at one point of time you have to brake. But if the brake is jammed, the car won't move. So only patience. Now I've taken initiation, I'm saved, should chant Gauranga once, and you get the human form of life. Hare Krishna, see you next time. I have no problems now. I'm going back to Godhead. No. At the same time, if you are only in enthusiasm mode, when will that day come? When will that day come? When will that day come? One, what is the name? Dhirashanta Maharaj. He was Prabhu at that time. So he said, the process of chanting, dancing, singing, prasadam, temple life, rehearsal life, brahmacharya life, whatever, is like you open up a tap and you have a bucket. And you in America will never understand this, but there are many parts of the world where water supply is a big issue. So try to imagine that. So you put the tap open fully and only one drop comes. Tap. After 10 seconds, another drop. Tap. So the tap is not off, but water comes only at this particular speed. So if you keep on watching it, you will go raving mad. The best course is, you want water, you will not get anything right now. You put the tap under water, you put the tap on. If somebody has to put their phone off. Yeah.
But
So don't go to that tap at least for the next 5 or 6 hours. And then when you come there, you will find that, hey, there is much water than what I was when I left. There was nothing. Now there is at least something. Come after a day, you will find it is half full. So similarly, keep on doing your own, the basic things. Do not be attached to something happening overnight. And that's how it is. So we also have our examples of Shabri. She's asking her Guru Maharaj, Matanga Muni, that this is my desire to serve my Lord. He didn't say that, but from the Ramayana we can understand. You want the good fortune of serving Ram with your own hands? Some price has to be paid. What is that price? Separation from her god brothers and god sisters. Separation from her Guru Maharaj's presence. Living alone. And no guarantee that tomorrow you might get darshan. But what is her sterling example? Fresh flowers, fresh fruits, fresh berries, as if she just got a WhatsApp message that the Lord is arriving right now in half an hour's time. And we don't know how many years she must have done that. In the evening, just carry everything and Visarjan, just leave it in the river. And the next day morning, as if she has got that message, that full enthusiasm in gathering the paraphernalia again. So the same scenario must have happened day in, day out. Every day morning, she's like happy. Every day in the evening, a very serious mood. She just depositing everything in the river. Next day, the next day, the next day. So these are some things which we should consider when evaluating our own sadhana. We don't need to jump in premature ecstasy, and we also no need to burden ourselves with premature guilt that nothing is happening, nothing is happening. No, at least now you're asking that why nothing is happening. Before coming to bhakti, you never bother about that. At least that's the gain. So these are some thoughts.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Amazing. Very grateful.
Any other point or any other comment?
Prabhuji, looks like these are the questions we have today, Prabhuji.
Okay, thank you all very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Great Shyamananda Prabhuji ki jai.
Jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Thank you
Prabhuji.
so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.